The twin moons of New Terra floated quietly above the sky, casting a soft silver glow over the colony below. It was a peaceful night. Farmers had gone to sleep after a long day in the fields. Children were tucked into beds, their dreams filled with stars and stories. The air was still, the land calm. No one expected danger. No one thought tonight would change everything. Leo sat alone in a small communication room on the edge of the colony. He was just 16, skinny and smart, always, playing with wires and machines. His father used to be an engineer before he passed away. Leo had learned everything from him. Tonight, Leo was fixing an old satellite dish. The screen in front of him blinked with green lights. Suddenly, something strange appeared on the monitor. A signal. It wasn't human. The sound was deep, rough, and full of static. His eyes widened. He checked the coordinates. It was coming from space, near the outer ring, far beyond the colony's sky. At first, he thought it was just space noise, but then it repeated, again and again, and with each cycle, the sound became clearer, a pattern, a message, not friendly. Leo leaned closer. His fingers flew across the controls. He recorded the signal and sent a copy to the central command, but he knew they wouldn't believe him. They never did. To them, he was just a kid playing with machines. At the command center, a few sleepy officers glanced at the message. They listened to the sound, laughed, and shrugged it off. Probably. A meteor storm, one said. Or solar interference, another added. They turned off the monitor and went back to their coffee. But up in the sky, above the twin moons, something was moving. Silent. Cold. Watching. Leo didn't sleep that night. He kept listening. The signal grew louder. Then, just before sunrise, it stopped. Suddenly, the communication dish began shaking. Leo ran outside. The ground under his feet felt different, like it was trembling. He looked up and froze. The bay. Sky was no longer calm. A huge black shape covered the stars, sharp, cold, and alive. It wasn't one ship. It was many, dozens. Their smooth metal bodies made no sound, but their presence screamed danger. Bright red lights blinked under their hulls like eyes full of hate. Leo's voice shook as he pressed the emergency alarm button. "They're here," he whispered. "They're real." Across New Terra, alarms rang for the first time in 10 years. Families woke up in panic. Soldiers, few in number, grabbed old rifles. The defense system tried to activate, but it was too slow, too old. This colony was peaceful. No one had trained for war. The sky turned red. From the alien ships, beams of fire shot down like lightning. Buildings exploded. The school where Leo once studied was turned to ash in seconds. The energy plant burst into flames. Roads cracked open. Screams filled the air. People ran. Mothers grabbed children. Fathers searched for shelter. Drones flew down from the ships, metal monsters with sharp claws and glowing eyes. They grabbed anything that moved. Leo ran through the streets, dust and smoke in the air. His heart pounded. He didn't know where to go. Everything was falling apart. He heard his name. "Leo!" It was Sarah, a friend from the tech team. She pulled him behind a broken wall. "Did you see them?" she asked, her face pale. "I sent the signal," Leo said, breathing fast. "They didn't listen." "No one ever does," Sarah replied. A loud crash shook the ground again. Another drone landed nearby. They held their breath, trying not to move. The machine scanned the area with a red beam, then flew away. They ran. Not far from the colony center, in a hidden shelter, a few old soldiers had gathered. Among them was a man with a scar across his face, sitting in the dark. His name was Riker. He used to be a captain during the border wars, long before peace came. He had lived in silence, forgotten by most. But now, hearing the explosions, He stood up and grabbed a dusty weapon from the wall. In the shadows of the burning colony, Leo and Sarah reached the shelter. Riker looked at them. His eyes were tired but sharp. "You brought trouble, kid," Riker said. Leo nodded. They were already coming. Outside, the enemy ships moved like shadows, swallowing light, searching for survivors. The colony, once full of life, now looked like ruins. Riker stepped out and watched the sky. "This isn't a simple raid," he said. "They're not here to steal. They're here to erase us." Sarah shook her head. "We don't have weapons. No army. What do we do?" Riker looked at her, then at Leo. "We fight," he said. Leo felt something shift inside him. Fear was still there, but also something else, something stronger. The enemy thought this was just another weak human colony. They were wrong. As the sky rumbled and the last moon disappeared behind smoke, Leo whispered the words that would echo through history. "They're already here." The sky was still red with fire when the enemy's first strike landed deep inside the colony. The Zarnok ships hovered like dark birds above the burning fields and crumbled buildings. Their weapons shot bright, deadly beams that tore through everything. Smoke and dust filled the air, making it hard to see. People screamed and ran, trying to find safety. It was chaos. Leo and Sarah were moving quickly through the ruins, their clothes dirty and torn. Leo's hands trembled as he held a small device he had made, a signal jammer to confuse the enemy's drones. Sarah kept watch, eyes sharp for any danger. They had no weapons, only hope and quick minds. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the ground near them. A building collapsed and a group of colonists were trapped under the rubble. Leo didn't think twice. He ran to help. Together with others, they pulled heavy stones and beams off the injured people. Some were hurt badly, but alive. "We have to get them to the shelter," Sarah said urgently, "before the next attack." As they moved, they heard strange noises, mechanical clanking and heavy footsteps. From behind a fallen wall, they saw small enemy patrols, Zarnok soldiers. These were not the big ships, but smaller, faster fighters. They moved like predators, scanning every corner for survivors. Leo's heart pounded. They were caught. But just then, a voice shouted from the shadows. "Move! This way!" An older man appeared, holding a rifle almost twice his size. His face was hard, but his eyes burned with fire. It was Captain Riker. He barked orders like a commander in battle. "Get those people to safety! Leo, Sarah, cover our backs!" The small group hurried, moving fast through narrow alleys and broken streets. Riker's men fought back when the enemy came close. Though old and few, their skills were sharp. They threw rocks, fired old weapons, and set traps. Leo watched, amazed. These were ordinary people turned warriors by necessity. But the enemy was strong. More ships came down, dropping more troops. The Zarnok used machines Leo had never seen, giant spider-like walkers with glowing red eyes. They crushed trees and cars without care. The colony's defenses failed one by one. Sarah whispered, "We can't hold them long." Leo looked at the sky, searching for a miracle. Suddenly, he had an idea. Using his small jammer, he began hacking into the enemy drone's signals. The drones suddenly stopped, confused and spinning. Some crashed into walls or each other. It was a small victory, but it gave the colonists a chance to breathe. Riker nodded at Leo. "Good work, kid. Keep it up." The battle raged on for hours. Families hid underground. Soldiers and civilians fought side by side. Fear mixed with hope. As night fell, the enemy retreated for a moment, leaving behind destruction and silence. Leo, Sarah, and Riker gathered in the shelter. They counted their losses. Too many. "We can't win with weapons we have," Sarah said softly. Riker's voice was grim but steady. "We must learn their ways. Fight smarter, not just harder." Leo looked at his friends, determination growing in his chest. They were no longer just survivors. They would become fighters. Outside, the stars blinked, silent witnesses to the fight for New Terra's future. And somewhere far away, the enemy prepared for their next strike. The sun rose weakly over the broken colony. Smoke still curled from ruined homes and shattered streets. But inside the shelter, a new hope was growing. The people of New Terra were no longer just scared victims. They were beginning to fight back. Captain Riker stood before a small group of survivors, their faces tired but determined. He showed them how to hold weapons, how to move quietly, and how to use the shadows as cover. These people had never been soldiers before. They were farmers, teachers, and workers. Now, they learned to be fighters. Leo worked alongside Sarah, using his knowledge of technology to create traps and alarms. From scrap metal and broken wires, they built small bombs and EMP devices to stop the enemy drones. Every night, they tested new ideas and planned their next moves. The Zarnak patrols became bolder. They searched the colony for hidden survivors and supplies, but each time they came, they found traps waiting. The colonists used hit-and-run tactics, striking quickly and disappearing before the enemy could fight back. One day, Leo and Sarah were scouting near the edge of the colony when they heard a soft cry. Hiding behind some rocks, they found a small group of children, lost, scared, and hungry. Among them was a little girl named Mia, no older than 6. "We'll protect you," Leo said gently. The children followed Leo and Sarah back to the shelter, where others welcomed them warmly. The colonists knew they had to keep these children safe, no matter what. But the enemy was cruel. One night, a drone raid took Mia from the shelter. The attackers moved fast, leaving only destruction behind. The colony was silent with fear. Riker's face was hard as he said, "We must get her. Back! No one is left behind." Leo's mind raced. Using the alien communications he had hacked, he listened closely to enemy messages. The Zarnak were speaking in harsh tones about captives and minds to control. They planned to use prisoners to learn more about humans. The colonists decided to rescue Mia and anyone else taken. A small team was formed, including Riker, Leo, and Sarah. They prepared weapons, studied enemy patrol routes, and practiced their plan. As they moved quietly through the dark streets, every shadow felt like a threat. The air was thick with tension. Inside an enemy camp, the prisoners were held in cold metal cages. The children huddled together, scared but brave. Mia's eyes shone with hope when she saw Leo approach. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're here." Suddenly, alarms blared. The Zarnak had found them. The rescue team fought fiercely, dodging energy blasts and breaking cages. They grabbed the children and ran. Outside, the sky glowed with the red light of enemy ships. The colonists raced through the burning streets toward safety. Once inside the shelter, breathless and bruised, they knew one thing for sure: this fight was far from over. Leo looked at Mia and the other children. "They want to break us, but they will never break our spirit." The enemy might be strong, but the humans were stronger when they stood together. And somewhere in the dark, a cold voice warned, "Your minds are primitive, and soon yours will be mine." The battle for New Terra had only just begun. The night was thick and heavy as the rescue team prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. The enemy's main command ship hung silently above the colony, like a dark star swallowing all light. Its smooth metal surface glowed faintly with strange symbols that none of the colonists could understand. Inside, the cold halls were filled with machines and voices, machines that seemed alive, and a strange intelligence that controlled everything. Leo, Sarah, and Captain Riker knew this was the heart of the enemy's power. They had to get inside, find the prisoners, and stop whatever Terrible plan was unfolding. Quietly, they moved through the shadows, using the tunnels beneath the colony to avoid patrols and lasers. Every step was filled with tension. The metal walls hummed with alien energy. Strange lights blinked in the darkness. Leo's heart raced, but he pushed fear aside. They had come too far to turn back. Suddenly, the team reached a large door, guarded by two tall soldiers with glowing weapons. Riker signaled for silence. They waited until the guards moved away for a moment, then slipped inside. The ship's interior was like a nightmare made real. Machines hummed and clicked. Strange pods held strange creatures, some alive, some clearly not. Leo's eyes widened when he saw rows of human bodies in glass tubes, hooked to wires and tubes. The aliens were not just attacking the colony. They were harvesting humans, taking their bodies and minds. Leo found a control panel and began hacking it with trembling fingers. His screen filled with codes and images. He discovered the source of the Zarnok's power, a huge artificial intelligence that controlled their invasion fleet. This AI was cold, calculating, and merciless. As Leo worked to plant explosives, a loud alarm blared. They were trapped. The enemy had returned. Metal doors slammed shut, sealing them inside. Riker drew his weapon, ready to fight. "We're not done yet," he said grimly. The team fought their way through narrow corridors filled with alien guards. They pushed forward, determined to escape with the prisoners and destroy the ship's core. In a final desperate move, Leo triggered the explosives. The ship shook violently, lights flickered, and alarms screamed. Outside, the enemy fleet scattered, the command ship crippled. But as the smoke cleared, Riker stared at a large screen still glowing with a warning message. It showed Earth, the home world, far away but clearly marked. "This is not just about us," Riker said. "They want Earth next." The weight of those words sank deep into their hearts. The battle for survival had become a war for the whole human race. And the enemy was not finished. The colony was quiet now, but the air still felt heavy with danger. The attack had slowed, but the threat was far from over. The colonists gathered in the shelter, their faces tired but full of new strength. They had seen what the enemy could do, and now they knew they had to fight back with everything they had. Leo worked day and night to build new weapons. Using parts from the enemy's own ships and old colony tools, he created powerful devices that could disable drones and even blast through enemy armor. Sarah helped by training others to use the weapons, teaching them how to aim and move carefully. Captain Riker stood before the colony, his voice strong and full of hope. He sent a message out through the repaired communication systems, a call for help to Earth and any friendly forces in the galaxy. It was a risky move. Earth was far away, and the message might never reach them in time. But they had to try. As the message traveled through space, the colonists prepared for the next attack. Leo focused on a new project, a weapon powered by the colony's energy core. It was a huge machine, dangerous and unstable, but it could turn the tide if it worked. Days passed. Then, one morning, the sky darkened again. A massive alien warship appeared, larger than any before. It was the real leader of the invasion, a beast of metal and fire. The colonists felt fear, but also a fierce determination. This was the moment they had been preparing for. The warship fired beams of energy that shook the ground. The colony's new defenses held, pushing back the enemy attacks. Leo's weapon hummed with power, ready to fire. Captain Riker led the fighters in battle, moving through the smoke and ruins, shouting orders and helping those who fell. The sky was filled with fire and noise. The fight was brutal, and many were hurt. But the colonists fought with the fury of those who had nothing left to lose. As Leo's weapon reached full power, he took a deep breath and aimed it at the warship. The ground trembled as a bright beam shot from the weapon, striking the enemy ship. The warship shuddered, sparks flying from its hull. The colonists watched, hope rising with the light. But then, from the shadows, a new threat appeared. The real battle was only beginning. The colony was quiet now, but the air still felt heavy with danger. The attack had slowed, but the threat was far from over. The colonists gathered in the shelter, their faces tired but full of new strength. They had seen what the enemy could do, and now they knew they had to fight back with everything they had. Leo worked day and night to build new weapons. Using parts from the enemy's own ships and old colony tools, he created powerful devices that could disable drones and even blast through enemy armor. Sarah helped by training others to use the weapons, teaching them how to aim and move carefully. Captain Riker stood before the colony, his voice strong and full of hope. He sent a message out through the repaired communication systems, a call for help to Earth and any friendly forces in the galaxy. It was a risky move. Earth was far away, and the message might never reach them in time. But they had to try. As the message traveled through space, the colonists prepared for the next attack. Leo focused on a new project, a weapon powered by the colony's energy core. It was a huge machine, dangerous and unstable, but it could turn the tide if it worked. Days passed. Then, one morning, the sky darkened again. A massive alien warship appeared, larger than any before. It was the real leader of the invasion, a beast of metal and fire. The colonists felt fear, but also a fierce determination. This was the moment they had been preparing for. The warship fired beams of energy that shook the ground. The colony's new defenses held, pushing back the enemy attacks. Leo's weapon hummed with power, ready to fire. Captain Riker led the fighters in battle, moving through the smoke and ruins, shouting orders and helping those who fell. The sky was filled with fire and noise. The fight was brutal, and many were hurt. But the colonists fought with the fury of those who had nothing left to lose. As Leo's weapon reached full power, he took a deep breath and aimed it at the warship. The ground trembled as a bright beam shot from the weapon, striking the enemy ship. The warship shuddered, sparks flying from its hull. The colonists watched, hope rising with the light. But then, from the shadows, a new threat appeared. The real battle was only beginning. ChatGPT said the colony was filled with smoke and noise as the final battle began. The massive alien warship loomed overhead, casting a dark shadow across the land. The humans were tired and outnumbered, but they did not give up. Every person fought with everything they had, knowing this might be their last chance. Captain Riker led the fighters through broken streets and ruined buildings. His voice was strong and steady as he shouted commands. Soldiers and civilians worked together, setting traps and firing weapons. They used tunnels and hidden paths to surprise the enemy. Leo stayed near the big weapon he built. It was charging slowly, glowing with bright blue light. He watched the warship carefully, waiting for the right moment to strike. The air was tense. Every second felt like an hour. Suddenly, the enemy sent a large group of soldiers to attack the weapon. Leo knew he had to protect it no matter what. He grabbed a rifle and fired back, his hands shaking but steady. Sarah joined him, covering his side. They fought hard, pushing the enemy back step by step. In the middle of the battle, Riker faced the alien leader. The two fought with strength and skill. Riker's experience met the leader's brutal power. The fight was fierce, and neither gave ground. Around them, the battle raged on. Leo saw his chance. The weapon was fully charged. He ran to the control panel, fingers flying over the buttons. He aimed the powerful beam at the enemy warship's core. A bright light shot out, hitting the ship with a violent explosion. The warship shook and started to break apart. Flames and sparks flew everywhere. The enemy began to retreat, their forces breaking. But in the chaos, Leo disappeared. The last thing Sarah saw was his broken device lying on the ground. The colony was saved, but at a great cost. The survivors gathered, tired and grieving. Riker looked at the stars and promised, "We will protect humanity, no matter what comes next." The battle was won, but the war was far from over. ChatGPT said the days after the final battle were quiet. Too quiet. The smoke had cleared, and the alien warship had fallen, broken in pieces across the fields of New Terra. But the people didn't cheer. They walked among ruins, searching for lost friends, burying their dead, and rebuilding with heavy hearts. Captain Riker stood at the edge of the colony, staring at the crater where Leo's weapon had fired. The machine was destroyed, twisted metal now cold and silent. And Leo, there was still no sign of him. Sarah searched every corner of the battlefield. She refused to believe he was gone. Leo wouldn't give up, she said. He's still out there, I know it. Then one evening a weak signal came through an old radio. Static crackled. Then a voice. Sarah, anyone, I'm still alive. The whole colony froze. It was Leo. His signal came from a hidden chamber beneath the ruins of the warship. Somehow he had survived the blast, trapped deep underground. Riker and Sarah led a rescue team immediately, digging through layers of metal and debris. Hours passed, but finally, they broke through. Leo was weak, but smiling. You didn't think I'd let them win, did you? He joked softly as Sarah hugged him tightly. With Leo safe, hope returned to the people of New Terra. The colony was badly damaged, but their spirit was stronger than ever. They began to rebuild, not just buildings, but a future. News of their survival and victory finally reached Earth. And one day large ships appeared in the sky, not enemies this time, but allies. Reinforcements, doctors, supplies, and weapons. Humanity had heard the call. Riker stood before the new arrivals, older and tired, but proud. This is what humans are, he said. You can knock us down, you can burn our homes, but we always stand up. And we fight back harder. Leo and Sarah stood beside him, now heroes of New Terra. Children looked up to them, inspired by their courage. The Zarnok had made a fatal mistake. They thought the colony was weak, but they didn't understand what it meant to be human. The people of New Terra weren't just survivors anymore. They were warriors, and as the stars above began to shine, again one message echoed across space. If you come for humanity, be ready to pay the price, because this time, we fight back.